Nice.
Yep.
High level.
You forgot the
refereeing
flailing
there.
tube band.
Oh yeah. Have you not heard that before when he does that?
Oh no. I definitely have walked into a coffee shop and to get my attention, he did the arm thing.
Did you see the did you see the Phil and Gordy?
Yes.
Oh my god.
That was so awesome.
Did you know somebody said you were an owl?
That's such a bad joke.
Somebody said you have really bad jokes.
Check Complete, a referee podcast, is an educational resource for referees by referees, designed to connect and develop soccer officials of all ages and skill levels to better serve the game both on and off the field. Welcome back to the Check Complete podcast. This is season 2, episode number 11. 11. Stephanie.
That's crazy.
This is Steph Iwata.
Hi.
Steph or Stephanie. Do you prefer one or the other?
No,
No? Okay.
I really don't care.
All right. Well, I have sunken into a very comfortable position on this couch. I'm not going to lie. The posture's real bad. I'm sure if the chiropractor's watching, they're drooling over like I'd be the dream patient for this. But Steph, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today. So we're going to hear a little bit about your story, how you got started, what you're doing now. And then we have part two of the interview with Lance VanHaitsma. And part 1 was fantastic. I mean, buckle up because part 2 is great. And super excited to have that today. Hopefully you guys enjoy that. Lance is phenomenal. I can't plug him and the work that he's doing. Obviously, the stuff he's at CONCACAF is incredible. The stuff that he's done with NYSOA is amazing. His career as a futsal official, FIFA Futsal Referee, and all the stuff he's done in the outdoor game as well. Just a remarkable, but above all of that, phenomenal person. So I thank you again, Lance, for making time to be on the podcast and for sharing this out to your network. We hope that is inspiring to all those who watch this. And so we turn to you now, Steph. Steph, tell us. Let's dive into this a little bit. How long have you been refereeing?
I've been refereeing for 10 months.
10 months. Okay. Yep. And you have done quite a bit in 10 months.
Over 150 games.
Over 150 games.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And not just the volume of games, but the experiences you've had is remarkable. So tell us, before we get into some of those experiences, because I do want to unpack some of that, tell us why this refereeing thing.
It really did start out for the money. I needed a job.
Fair.
And I was basically like a tutor TA thing at school and just was done with it.
Yeah.
Very over it. So this was senior year at Rockhurst, and Drew is a really good friend. We went to undergrad together. And so he, and I already knew you guys, and you and him were texting me talking about high school season and saying you just really needed referees. You really need female referees. And I talked to you guys for like 3.5 years at that point about soccer.
Yeah.
They're like, you know the laws, you can do it. So I just signed up and got certified, and yeah.
The rest is history, as they say. Yeah. So you went to, just to clarify a couple things here, you went to Rockhurst University in Kansas City, Missouri, for those that are wondering what the Rockhurst reference was to. And then Drew Klemp is the referee that we reference, and Drew is a Kansas referee that is on the upswing, we'll put it that way. So really doing great things. He hasn't guest co-host, right, guys? No. So we'll get Drew on sometime too. We will, for sure.
Upcoming national referee.
Yeah. Going to national camp in a few weeks. So very good. Okay, so that's how you got started. We kind of coerced you into it in a good way.
Yes.
Right?
And hung the money.
We did. We told you how much you could make reffing high school soccer in the area. And I mean, we would talk about soccer related things.
Oh,
or
you guys
plays.
sent me the clips and
Right,
all sorts of stuff, and would ask what I thought. What are your considerations? So
and you were like, fluent in refereeism, and so we're like, Just get out there and let's do this thing. So
Yeah.
you got out there, and you also went through. So you wasn't just KSHA or NFHS
No, I did
certification, but
USSF
you did
too.
USSF.
Yep.
So you got Federation certified, NFHS certified, and then USSF certified, and jumped right into it. So I mean, you were going, and so you did. I mean, you did a good chunk of games at the beginning on the line, right before you ever really.
Oh, it was a long time before I was in the middle.
Before you
Yeah.
so okay. So as you got into those games, what was it like to move from listening to our dialogue, reacting to videos, walking through considerations, all that kind of stuff, to then being out there, flag in hand, in the uniform, calling games? What was that transition
It was
like?
crazy.
Yeah?
It was honestly really surreal, even though it was, I don't know what the first game was, like U13 girls.
Yeah.
And my first couple games were with Drew because he was like,
Uh-huh.
knew that I would be really nervous and anxious about it.
Sure.
And then that way, he was like, don't even worry about the touch lines. Just tell me if it goes over the line. Like, don't worry about which way to point your flag.
Yeah.
And he's like, we'll work together. Worry about offside. And at first, I was really nervous that I was like, I don't know if I can actually do the job. Like, I know all the stuff, but I don't know if I can actually do this. And it wasn't that bad.
So
It's
the disconnect, the worry was the disconnect
Yes.
between theory and practice,
Yes.
right? That you're actually going out and doing it. Okay.
Yeah. And just remembering the right mechanics and all that.
Sure.
But
Did you feel coming out of the trainings that were provided, be it both Federation and, I mean, NFHS, that's somewhat limited, but coming out of that, did you feel prepared?
yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. If you would have gone into the middle quickly, would you have felt prepared for that?
No.
Not really.
No.
Okay. So your experiences on the line, you did quite a bit of games. You did high school games. You did youth games. What were those early games? I mean, you kind of already talked about this. What were those like? How did you feel like you were learning and growing as you went through those?
Just by having, especially in youth, and especially working like Heartland games, there's always just weird things that happen.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I don't even know what law that is under,
Right.
but that was not soccer.
Right.
And then just dealing with parents and coaches and even, just dealing with the players is, it just, something was new every game. And I learned something
Yeah.
of just what to do when something happens.
Sure. Were there specific aspects to officiating that you found more challenging than others as you got started?
Probably the dealing with coaches was hard because I still wasn't all that confident in that I knew whatever the call was.
Yeah.
Even though I did know what it was, if they asked me about it, it took me a little while to like figure out what to say.
Right.
And it takes a long time to learn that skill.
Right.
Of just immediately what to say to them, how to calm them down. Even if you're not 100% sure what the referee was doing, how to explain that to them
Right.
is a whole beast of itself.
Right. Absolutely. Being able to articulate what you're seeing and what they might be calling and how do I
Yes.
do this? How do I say this without maybe throwing them under the bus
Yes.
or
Oh, Lord.
things like
Yes.
that? Sure. Okay. Very
Yeah.
good. So as you're going along, you're having all these different experiences and things. When did you finally, because I know one of the things that we hear from people is like, how do I get to, like, when does that happen? And I think a lot of our new officials, they'll go through intro clinics and go, okay, so how long do I have to stay on the line? Or when do I have to go to others? And we all understand that there's really not a prescripted timetable to
Yeah.
that. It's some of it's comfort zone of the official, some of it's desperation of the assigner, some of it's, all the needs that might show themselves. So when did you finally have a whistle in your hand?
I had a whistle for a Bishop Miege high school game for girls.
Okay.
And I wasn't...
JV?
JV,
Yeah.
yes. And I wasn't supposed to... I wasn't assigned to the middle. But we get there, and the guy that was supposed to be in the middle just had some kind of knee thing going on. And he was like, I just really don't feel comfortable being out there. The guy that was going to do the varsity whistle was like, I can't do 2 whistles in a row. I was like, oh, shoot.
Here we go.
This is my moment.
Yeah.
And both of them were very experienced. And one was Brad Clem.
Yeah.
And so he was like, don't worry about it. You got it. Like, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I've heard great things. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I got you covered over here. It's like, okay.
That's good.
And that helped a lot. And yeah, nothing terrible happened.
Yeah.
So
You lived to
yeah,
fight
I
another
lived
day.
to tell the tale, and
Yes.
all is well.
Very good.
Yep.
Okay, so you get thrown into the middle. How comfortable are you in both positions, AR referee, 10 months in?
I feel very comfortable as an AR. I am still in the faking it till you make it phase of having a whistle.
Sure.
But I think when I went to National Cup, that changed a lot. I had a lot of whistles. And that's because Jeff and Graham just kind of were like, no, you're doing these.
Yeah.
We don't care.
Yeah.
If you want to be an AR, you're going to do whistles. And that helped a lot. Just building confidence.
Yeah. So that brings up kind of some of the highlights or these kind of bigger moments along your journey, which is probably a little bit abnormal for referees in the first 10 months, right? Like your path has been...
it is not normal.
Yeah. So you've had some really cool things. What have been some of those that you've been able to have over the last 10 months?
Honestly, the biggest surprise was getting the email to do President's Cup and State Cup. Because originally Drew was like, here's the dates for Junior State Cup. Make sure you're available for those. State tournaments are super fun. This is the season everybody gets super excited about. And I had seen him like through those seasons go and do it. And it's looked like so much fun. And he goes, but it's your first year. Probably not going to go to President's Cup or State Cup. Don't worry about it. It's like, okay. Do Junior State Cup. And then, like, whenever you sent the email out for President's Cup, I was like, Drew, I got the email for President's Cup. He's like, I know. And then that was crazy. And then I got the email for State Cup. I'm like, no way.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And I originally only had a couple of games for State Cup. And then what I learned a lot is, like, if you want the games, just be there. And so I got a lot more games because I would just be standing by the tables. And Dan was like, oh my gosh, we had somebody get hurt or somebody is sick. Steph, like, we need you on this game tomorrow. It's like, okay, cool, got it. And then they just kept racking up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You just show up.
You're just there collecting the scraps.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you have opportunities to work at those events, and we try to intentionally build some education around those. We get opportunities to have mentors, do different things. The overall experience is exciting. And I think that's something we're trying to do a little bit more and more of is, I think we set some barriers in our minds. We go, well, this referee needs to have worked this many games or this many years of experience and things like that. Well, maybe that's not the case. Maybe we can move people into this and have them have some great experiences, and that can be career catapulting.
Yeah.
But you had some other things. So I want to. You also got to go to. We both just adjusted our seats on there. That was unplanned.
I kept sinking into it.
Unplanned. I'm sinking a little bit, but I feel I'm in a comfortable spot right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, you got to go to. You worked an event in the Chicago area.
I did.
You were connected through the one, the only Zach Richter, friend of the podcast.
Yes, love.
Yes, love us some Zach Richter. And so you got to work a tournament up there, and you had some kind of surprise appointments through that too.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I mean, highlight, honestly, of the season.
Yeah.
And that was kind of a crazy tournament because of how many games they had. It was insane. And Zach was trying so hard to get Kansas referees. And so he was telling me, he got me to do it because he goes, Steph, how many first-year referees get to travel for soccer?
True.
I was like, done. I will definitely go to Chicago. We had just graduated college, so I had nothing to do. And I was like, yeah, like, I'll go out there. And everybody had at least 5 games each day.
Oh. Each day.
Yeah.
That small part of me died inside when
Yeah.
you said that.
However, everything that was not, I think, like semifinal and final, or kind of playoff kind of games was 35-minute halves, no matter the age. So that helped a lot, but it was a lot of soccer.
Oh my gosh.
And I only went for Saturday and Sunday also. And Saturday, I show up and I get there early. I drove with Zach and Tatum, and Zach is like checking his emails as I'm helping set up the tent and like helping his dad put the schedule up and all sorts of stuff. And then he turns to me and he goes, "Do you want a UPSL 4th official?" I was like, "What?"
Excuse me.
He goes, "Do you want a UPSL 4th official? I just had somebody drop. And another one of the referees here is going to be an AR, and you guys can just drive together and then drive back, and you'll just go after your last game." I was like, what? Like, do you really think I can do this?
And you'd been reffing for how long at this point? What, 5 months? 4?
Yeah.
5 months?
Maybe 4.
4 or 5 months? Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I did.
So you did it.
Yeah.
And you had fun.
It was so fun.
That's awesome.
It was, I mean, it wasn't a crazy, he knew it wasn't going to be a crazy game either, so obviously he probably would have asked someone else.
Sure.
But again, I was just there
Right.
when he needed somebody. That's been a lot of it. Just
Right.
showing up.
And then you had the National Cup
Yes.
in the summer.
Yep.
So that's U.S. Club,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Okay. And that's out in Colorado, your
Yep.
homeland.
That is my homeland.
Yes.
I love it there.
I do too. And so you had a good experience there as well.
Yes, that was cool. Again, because of like what we did with State Cup, with having really cool mentors come out. They had some pro refs come out, national refs come out,
Yeah.
and truly actually sit and watch your game and kind of take notes. And so I met Danielle Chesky, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And got to have a really cool conversation with her. And after I was done with my games for the day, I was just kind of talking to Jeff and Graham, who are the ones that assigned for it, and Graham does MASL and stuff like that. And she just looks at me, she goes, "I watched your game, don't go anywhere, I want to talk to you."
Oh.
I was like, okay. And that was so cool to get personal notes from somebody that actually knows what they're talking about. And
Yeah.
then we even talked a lot about confidence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where she was like, "I watched your center and it was noticeable that you were uncomfortable."
Yeah.
She goes, "You just have to fake it." So that's kind of how I got, I think, better at that. And then ended up on the girls U19 final.
That's awesome.
On
As
an all-female
assistant
crew.
referee, right?
As AR1.
AR1. That's awesome.
It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we had high school boys season. We got club stuff going on in the fall. All the upper level youth games. You've had some college games under your belt too. You've had a ton of experiences, and I don't think this is necessarily. I mean, we've already said this is not necessarily the norm, and it's not going to be the path for everyone. But I think at least one of the takeaways that I take as an administrator from this, and maybe others can as well, is don't pigeonhole somebody just because of years of experience. You know, there may be more and more opportunities for some. So I think we have to really look at the individual, and we don't always have the ability to do this because of sheer numbers. But if you can look at the individual and see what are their capabilities. Maybe they do need to stay on 77, 99 games for a lengthy period of time because of just the development needed. But others might catch on quicker and are ready to be moved into more opportunities. So as you've gone along, are you able to articulate and point to things that have been contributors to your success things that have propelled you along the way? Does that make sense? Does that question make sense?
I honestly really just try to take advantage of every resource that is offered to us, whether that's the monthly meetings,
Podcasts, right?
which I was watching before I was a referee. Super fun.
Yes.
And which I now call my mom on the way every month. And I'm like, Mom, it's my favorite night of the month. It's
For the
referee
monthly
meeting time.
Yes, there you go.
And those are really helpful too, to get to have discussion and things like that. But also just reaching out to the people I know.
Yeah.
And asking my questions of like, I had a really weird thing happen on a game. I don't know if I handled that right, but what can I do next time? Sending clips to people, watching the clips that everyone has,
Right.
and like being actively involved in the discussions, not just listening to what everyone else has to say. That's, I think, really just being mentored has been
Yeah.
the big one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And probably people to support you as you have been kind of, I want to be careful with this, but there's times kind of thrown into the fire with some of these different
Yeah.
assignments, right?
For sure. I think that is like one of the abnormal things about my journey is having so much support
Yeah.
from all of you guys.
Yeah.
It's been, I don't think anyone else really has like that
Yeah.
much going into it your very first season.
Right, because I don't think a lot of folks when they get into officiating have necessarily that
Already have friends.
already existing network.
Yeah.
Right. Like you are already in our network. You are already in our friend
Yeah.
group, that kind of thing, which is just not the norm.
Yeah.
And it really can't be. I know there's like we can't expand the friend group to envelop
everyone.
every Kansas referee. Like it's just
Yeah.
not feasible. But I think it does go to say that from a recruiting standpoint, those of us that are existing referees, if you have networks, especially at your job, at your place of worship, at your family, even things like that, you have existing connections. Bringing those people, say, hey, would you want to come do some games with me? Like, I'll even sit through the ELC with you.
Yeah.
I will help, or even I've heard of referees doing this. I'll dip into my pocket to help pay for some of your startup fees, things like that.
Yeah.
I'll come join it with me. And I think that has the ability to stick for longer. Or friends that all start together. Don't be afraid to reach out to. I don't know how many people listening / watching would fall into this category, but don't be afraid to reach out to the assigners and say, hey, me, Jimmy, and Johnny want to work together. We all just got started. We want to work together. Maybe that first couple weeks you might need to be spread out just because you don't want
You
three
need
brand
experience.
newbies.
Yeah.
But after that, get out there and work 3 games. For those of us, those are the referees we know. Some of my most fun experiences, even if it's just boring, run-of-the-mill, whatever, three of us together, we all do a whistle. We do 3 games, we all do a whistle, and then we
so
go out
much
to
fun.
eat afterwards.
Yeah.
It's a great Friday or Saturday. You make
Yes.
money, you exercise.
Those are the memories too. That you remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, changing gears ever so slightly, and then we'll wrap up and take a quick break and jump back in with Lance. The female aspect, right? It's something that I think a lot of male folks in this profession think we kind of understand, but we really don't. And so as you've gone along, have you run into either speed bumps because of your gender or things that you feel like were accelerating for you, or even stuff that you're like, that may have been a little bit easier for me because I was, a female? I don't know. Take that question how you want.
I think the biggest difference that I notice day to day, game to game, is the interaction with players. Sometimes you're not taken very seriously when you walk onto a field of U18 boys.
Sure.
And they're like, this girl, she can't keep up. She's 5'2". Like, it's not my height going against me.
Right.
And but what is nice is the moment you can prove you can do it,
Yeah.
you're taken seriously.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you just have to prove that you can do it.
Yeah.
I think working with other people, there hasn't really been much of a notice. Like, I don't really notice that
Right.
much. I also just grew up in a world of boys, so I don't that's just life to me.
Sure.
Being around dudes all the time. And because I did like taekwondo and stuff, and that's just guys.
Yeah.
So but what's fun is the then camaraderie of the female referees. I think that's something that the guys don't necessarily have as much because they're more competitive with each other. Whereas, you know, you guys have started the female referee meetings. Those are super fun.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we just come in and tell stories and are just like, I can't believe this one person said this. And
Absolutely.
we go on a whole thing. And it's just nice to have that support. So I think that's something different that we do for each other and are always supporting each other. And every, you know, advanced referee that I've met is like, here's my phone number. Here's my email.
Yeah.
Reach out, send me stuff, ask questions.
And when you say advanced referee, you mean like NWSL,
Yes.
pro, FIFA female
Yes.
officials.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Which is just
It's so cool.
so cool.
Yes.
It's so neat.
I definitely nerd out when that happens.
Yeah, it's like the community within the community, right?
Yep.
Like the Russian nesting doll,
Yep.
one within the other. And I think that's really cool. And I love that is in place. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Steph. I mean, before we transition, is there anything that you want to say to the Check Complete
Oh my gosh.
podcast audience?
This is crazy. Honestly, refereeing has changed my life.
Oh,
It's so much fun. It's awesome. I'm trying to go to medical school, but I have a really hard time parting with this, and kind of I've had to take a step back a little bit, and it's been really hard because it's a part of life now.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it will always be, and the good thing about this, I guess, then is because of how flexible it can be, it can always be part of your life in some capacity.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1 day a week, you
Yeah.
know, or even if you have to step away for a season, it can still be something you pick back up in some capacity.
Yeah.
So.
And I do want to thank like you and everybody that has supported me along this, because like you can't be a referee without mentors and teachers and friends, and you can't get better. So I appreciate you guys a lot.
You are welcome. It's been my pleasure. You can Venmo me later. Anyway, this is we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Steph as we close out the episode, but we're going to take a quick break, and then we will jump back in with Lance to hear part 2 of the Lance VanHaitsma. Heitzma. Not Haitsma. VanHaitsma. As we hear him talk a little bit more about, he's going to talk about some futsal stuff, CONCACAF stuff, and just a fantastic conversation, so stick around. The Check Complete podcast is brought to you in part by JF Consulting Tax Preparation and Bookkeeping. Taxes suck, we can help.
Anyway, so let's talk futsal. I work at the grassroots level of futsal, and I will tell you, I love it. I love futsal, and it could be because I'm a basketball and a soccer official, so I'm like, oh, it's these two things coming together, like inside and soccer. But how did you get not just into futsal, but into futsal? How did that come about?
So it's back to that, when one door closes, another one opens, and you really don't know the doors that are in front of you and what's behind them and when they're going to open or when they're going to close for you. So back when I was a national referee for U.S. Soccer, they had a program called the Platinum Program. And this was back when Herb Silva was in charge, who Grandpa Herb has always been a mentor to me. I love Herb. I still stay in contact with him to this day. He was a main reason that I had the opportunity for futsal. Being an indoor guy himself, we've always just kind of related to one another. We've always had similar personalities. So this was back when the Platinum Program, and he was in charge of it. He was in charge of U.S. Soccer referee program at that time. Development Academy came out with futsal showcases for their under 14 age. So basically it was the transition before they got to the 16s. And they would have these showcases throughout the country. It'd be like maybe 5 or 6 of them throughout different parts of the country in the wintertime. And this was back when Jurgen Klinsmann was the national team coach, and he was really pushing for year-round soccer with futsal because of the number of touches a player has in a match and the small space and decision makings that need to be made, similar to refereeing. So Herb saw this as an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to see if any of my platinum referees want to try out futsal. And, I was like, like I've worked a couple college games with Shane Butler. And at that time, Shane was on the panel for futsal. And I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. So my first event was down in Orlando, did the course. They did a course the Friday night. So Shane was the instructor, did the course. There was myself, Alex Chilowitz was part of the group. Danny Thornberry was part of the group. And then we had some local officials to cover. Well, we didn't get to officiate because Saturday morning was a bomb threat for the facility. Oh, so we didn't even get to officiate. So I had to wait 2 more weeks. Luckily, U.S. Soccer sent me to Charlotte, North Carolina for the next tournament showcase. So I was there. I got to officiate. I met Ed Marco, who at that time was the FIFA Futsal Referee instructor. And they, between him and Shane, like really helped me get started. And I got hooked. I got hooked right away because just as you said, the fast pace, the number of decisions you have to make, like I just loved it. Plus it was inside. So you had air conditioning, you didn't have rain. So I was like, I'm sold. And so I went to another one in Austin, and we're doing like 10 games a day. So we're out there on the court all day. It was like back when you were just starting off as a youth referee, when you do your first tournament and you're like, you could be out there all day on a field for games. Now I look at it, I'm like, man, I could never do 2 games back to back, let alone all day. But those are the things you just did. And so these are the things we just did, right? So then I'd have a meeting with Herb afterward. He's like, hey, I heard you're pretty good. Is this something you want to do? What do you think? And I was like, I saw my door closing, MLS, because I didn't have the physical condition, nor, the physical attributes that they were looking for at that time. So my door closed and this one was opening. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to do it. I love futsal. I'm all in. So, there's a couple times where I would pay for my own flight to when the U.S. soccer futsal national team was having a camp, and they would do scrimmages, or they would bring in a team like France and do like some friendly matches. So I would pay my own way, pay for my own hotel. Shane and Ed would help me out, and they would be there, and we'd work together. Ed would give feedback, and that's when I really loved it. I loved it. And it took 2 years. I was a futsal referee for 3 years before I went on the panel. But my experience as an outdoor referee helped the transition to futsal. So fell in love with it. And then I was on the panel for 2016 through 2019, having to go. I was very fortunate that I had, my first international match down in Guatemala. And my first ever decision I ever made as a FIFA futsal referee was an advantage goal. So we had the accumulated foul, we had advantage, we had goal. And so, what they say is like, you only get one first impression. And so that was my first impression to the instructors and the international assessors. So from there, the rest was history.
Wow. That's phenomenal. So, maybe this is your chance here on a soundbite to plug where futsal fits for referees in development or pathway or whatever that could look like. Because I know there's a lot of folks that now soccer is, I feel like it used to be, even when I was starting, very confined to seasons, and you had an off time. And now it is year round, right? Especially where you are in the country. But even here where we have winters, we still have winter league. We still have modified indoor type things. And so I think I know we try to kind of encourage people to become futsal referees, and we have our pitch. But what's your pitch? What's the place of futsal, and why should people get involved in that?
Simple. There's very few states throughout the country where you can play or when you can referee year round. Very few states. I'm very fortunate to live in Florida where we have soccer year round. Maybe there's a part in August where we don't because it's so hot, but we have it year round. Texas, California. Those are really the three places that have soccer year round that you can referee. Sure, there might be a couple others in there, but those are the three main states. So if you're a referee that doesn't live in one of those states and your goal is to make it to the top or to go as far as you can't do it, or I should say you can do it. It's difficult for you to reach your goals when you're only officiating 8 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year, when there's somebody else that's officiating 11 months out of the year, 12 months out of the year.
Sure.
So just from that standpoint alone is why futsal is an incredible opportunity to stay relevant, to stay with the feel while it's still cold outside. And it allows you to make so many more decisions in a smaller space, in a shorter amount of time, that you have to always be thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead because the game is so fast. Like your decision to call a foul or not to call a foul, within 2 seconds, the ball can be in the other side in the back of the net or on an attack. So you have to be quick thinking. So just that alone as well, it's going to help you in your outdoor game because it's going to slow the game down for you. Your ability to apply advantage or recognize advantage is going to be so much more impactful and faster in the outdoor game with your work with futsal. And it doesn't have to be high-level futsal games. You know, you can be officiating U12, U14, U16 futsal matches, and that in itself is going to provide you challenges. And then lastly with it is your management. Because if you're a referee 1 in futsal, you are always by the benches, always by both coaches. So when there's a critical decision or there's a decision that there may be some disagreement on, you can't run. Not like an outdoor where you're the center referee and you just, okay, I'm not going to get too close to the bench. Or if you're the assistant referee 1, you say, hey, I don't know what the referee's doing. It's not me. It was him or her.
Right.
Now you pass the blame to somebody else. Or my favorite one is, oh, I'll talk to them at halftime.
Yes.
At least to get you through the half. But if it's the second half, oh, you're kind of stuck. So, you know, that alone will teach you because there's nowhere for you to go. That it teaches you that you need to be able to communicate to the coaches and you need to be able to diffuse situations, which then helps you in outdoor. Because when you have to do it in outdoor, now it's not something that's foreign to you. It's something that you've practiced. You've had trial and error because that's all official. That's how we learn, trial and error. You hope there's more positive trials than there are errors, but you know, you learn best from your own mistakes as well as others' mistakes. So futsal provides you that opportunity for practice for the outdoor game. And it helped my career tremendously because when I became a futsal referee and then I would work outdoor games, big difference on air. I felt like the game just became so much slower for me than it did before.
Well, it's almost like, I don't know if you're much of a baseball guy, but it's almost like swinging a bat with a donut, and then you take the donut off, and you're like, wow, this is, to me that always feels that way. Although I always, transitioning back into outdoor soccer in the spring, have to be careful that I don't call a second touch by the goalkeeper or something like that when we go back out. But
you're like accumulated foul.
I inevitably,
like, what is this, traveling? What is
well, that's my inevitably coming out from basketball. I will call a foul like this in a game in the spring. I just embrace it. But so futsal, I wish we could talk more about that, but I want to get into some of the CONCACAF stuff very briefly. But so you found yourself into this role in CONCACAF, like you said, and I forgive me the wording, but the easiest, toughest decision, right, that you found yourself in. So your role here, tell us what that looks like first and foremost, and then we can kind of unpack that slightly. But what's your role, and how does that play out on a regular basis?
So my role is manager of refereeing. I've been in this position since November of 2019. The manager of refereeing covers different aspects of the department. My focus is typically on development side, where I'm the manager and organizer of the CONCACAF Referee Academy, which is we take referees that are not yet FIFA referees, but have the potential, that have the projection and the skill set to one day become FIFA referees in 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. And then as well as organizing courses, our elite courses, our Gold Cup preparatory courses, liaising with our instructors, our FIFA instructors, to make sure that our agendas are appropriate, and also the content is appropriate for the seminars and courses for that specific demographic of officials that we have. But then also appointments. We do appointments together as a team, but there's always somebody who helps lead the appointment process. And, depending on the event that we have, different managers will be leading the appointment process. So the appointment process could be looking at, assessment scores, looking at, doing research on availability. We're always looking to appoint officials based on putting the best officials possible for that specific matchup. So a lot of it as, watching a lot of games. We watch a lot of games, because we have to, right? That's our job. This is what we love to do. This is what we strive for. We want to know everything about our officials, because not only do we want to put our officials in the best position for success. The last thing we want to do is put an official out there that, the match is either it's way over his or her head, because it doesn't really set them up for success down the road, as well as it's not fair to the game. It's not fair to the game. It's not fair to the players, the coaches. At the international level, there is a higher level of responsibility, right? As opposed to the grassroots level, the collegiate level, the state level when it comes to appointing match officials. So we always want to make sure that we're doing the best job that we can do. And that's by having all the information that we have on match officials to put them in the best position to succeed. I love my job. It's to the point where it's not even a job. Like I say it was my dream job, but if you love your job, it's not really working. Right. Yeah. So, and I'm very fortunate to, have one of my best friends, Mark Cahan, as you know, working with me as one of the other managers of referee. And so, we get to work hand in hand on a daily basis. I think our wives get tired of us talking on the phone after work hours, probably just as much as we talk during work hours. But, we talk about relationships and teamwork. And, having these strong relationships that we've built when we referee together, that it's transcended in transition to where we are now with our professional lives. And there's no better place I would rather be right now than where I am in CONCACAF, with so many international events coming up in the next, 3 years. In our area, in our confederation, domestically here in the United States, to be here and to have a front row seat and be working behind the scenes, it's incredible. Never would I've ever dreamed in my life that I would, be in a position here where I could, help referees at the top level, because I was never a FIFA outdoor referee. But again, back to futsal, using some of the skill sets and the knowledge and the experiences to be able to provide support is where it just pays dividends for me. Yeah.
Well, and we will probably need to have the Lance and Mark show at some point, because I think otherwise we'd be doing a disservice to the Check Complete podcast audience.
I almost had him as a surprise special guest today. I was so close, but he was in a meeting before this. So I was like, but it's funny you mentioned that because we're going to be doing a reunion webinar with NYSOA with the Mark and Lance show from, as I was telling Mark, I was like, man, we haven't done that since I think the pandemic, like when we were doing like a webinar every other day. And so it's going to be special. It's going to be a good time, but we would love to do one for your podcast as well.
That would be too fun. That'd be too fun. Well, in my follow-up question really on the CONCACAF stuff, because there's just so much there, and there's so much that I don't know, so we really don't have time to get into that. But you touched on it at the end, and I don't know how to word this question exactly, but I think it's just maybe more of an observation of, going back and looking at yourself all those years ago, and then, would you have ever predicted this was your path and that you'd end up here? You kind of already have alluded to this, but this seems like, and that's not me saying it in a way that like, oh, you know what I mean by that, by the way I'm wording that. It's amazing how life kind of puts things together. Did you ever think that this could be in your trajectory?
No, no, not really. But it's about those doors, the doors that open and you don't know you may know a little bit what's on the other side, but then in every door you open, it's just another opportunity for you down the road. And I reflect on where my career has been, both as a referee and as an administrative position. To see like how I got to where I am, because it's important to look back in order to look forward, and you have to continue to look forward to see, okay, where do you as an individual want to go? And that's in every aspect of life. You should reflect, as a husband, as a spouse, reflect in the past to look to where you want to go in the future. And the same with as a referee, as the same as an administrator. There's a quote I read the other day that said that what is it? Doing great isn't about being first. Doing great is being better than you were yesterday. So that's what it's about. It's just about being better tomorrow than I was today. And when you have enough of those, when you keep stringing those days along, the opportunities are endless. They really are. And hard work gets recognized. I'm a firm believer of that. When I started this job in 2019, it was about the relationships I had in the past, like the people I crossed. At that time, the person that was in charge of the department, Brian Hall, which we all know from U.S. Soccer, referee legend in U.S. Soccer. Brian was also a NYSOA Hall of Famer. He was very tied to the collegiate game. Brian was one of my referee instructors every time I would go to a tournament, whether it was youth nationals, amateur nationals. He'd come down to Florida to be a guest instructor at Disney tournaments. So I knew of Brian and Brian knew of me. And then the work I did with NYSOA translated to having the opportunity here at CONCACAF, which just goes to show that you just never know when your next opportunity is and who can be the person that can help you open that door. You never know. And that's why I've always been a firm believer is you never burn a bridge, because you never know when you have to walk back across that bridge. Nor should you burn a bridge, because it's how you treat people is how you feel like you should be treated.
So much good stuff in there. And I think it's very applicable to folks that are, and I'd say younger, but really at any age that are on the pathway trying to find success. And that's kind of a loaded conversation too of what is success, but moving up the ladder, trying to succeed is just really, I think there's a lot of questions of how do I get to the top? Well, I think in your answer there, it's work hard and walk through the doors as they open. Don't worry about 6 doors down. Worry about the one that's right in front of you. And I think in your answer there, that applies to officiating. It applies to life. It applies to so much.
Learn from the people around you.
Yeah.
Learn from the people. I've been so fortunate. I can't tell you how lucky I am that these last 2 years at CONCACAF, our technical refereeing advisor, Nicola Rizzoli from Italy, World Cup final referee 2014, 2013 he did the Champions League final with Bayern and versus Dortmund. Like, he brings he makes me think in a different way that I've never thought of before when it comes to refereeing matters, when it comes to decisions. He's an incredible leader that I've learned so much from, that it's just soaking up that information from people around you and taking what they do and learning from them and applying it to yourself, just like refereeing, right? We have our toolbox and we learn from different people. We put it and we see if put it in our toolbox and see if that tool works. And when the tool works, we keep it in our toolbox, but we always put our own personal touch on it, just like refereing. So we're very lucky. I'm very lucky. I say it every day, but at the end of the day too, it's, to be in the world of sports it's incredible. Yeah,
no doubt. Well, let's do a little this or that segment. So we aired this with Biggs in our last episode, and it's just too much fun for me, and I think this is going to be awesome, and we'll get to learn a little bit more about you, Lance. We've heard about your professional life, your all that kind of stuff. So now we get into the real nitty gritty, the stuff that really matters here. So this or that, we'll give you the option. You get to choose this or that. I will allow for a third option if one of these things does not tickle your fancy, I suppose. So we'll just jump into this. So, all right. So first one, ice cream or cake?
Okay, so I'm going to go with a third option here.
Fair.
That's because this is my favorite dessert, even though I love ice cream.
Yes, fair.
But my favorite is key lime pie. Hands down.
Okay. I thought you were going to say cinnamon rolls and we were going to be best friends for the rest of our lives, but I will allow key lime pie. Okay.
I mean,
all right.
It's to the point too where even like when my wife and I go down to the Keys, Florida Keys, and some people do like happy hour hopping where they'll check out a couple different places. For us, it's key lime pie places. So we'll go to a restaurant, share a slice of key lime pie, go to the next restaurant, share a slice of key lime pie to see who has the best key lime pie.
You're doing it right, my friend. I mean, you're doing it right. That might be the most profound thing you've shared on this podcast so far. All right, coffee or tea?
Coffee. Nespresso coffee.
Okay, all right. Beach or mountains?
Oh boy, I think in my younger years I would have said beach, but now that I have an administrative body, I would probably say I need the mountains more. So more of the outdoor, full clothing. That's where I would go now.
They make those long like UV sun shirts that you can wear. That's where I'm at, probably.
I think that's called a sundress.
Is that what that is? That salesman at Macy's really did a number on me. All right. iPhone or Android?
Oh, it has to be iPhone. I mean, I got 2 of them, so it has to be iPhone.
I was going to slam the laptop if it was Android, so we're good there. All right. Dogs or cats?
This is a tough one, man. This is really tough because I have both.
Okay.
I have both. And it's...
What do you got? What do you got?
Well, I have 2 cats, 1 dog. Earlier this year, I had 3 cats, 2 dogs. So those are our kids. We call them our fur babies, my wife and I. So those are our kids. And just like I'm sure the parents that are out here listening to the podcast, they can't choose one over the other unless you're Deion Sanders and you rank your kids and put it on Twitter, who's the best and who's the lowest, So if I had to choose, gun to my head, I will say cat. And I will tell you why.
Okay.
Because I love my dog. It's a miniature wiener dog. I love this dog. This dog is me, okay, in the form of a dog, right? Spitting image. But I have to say cat because we as referees could be gone weekends at a time or weeks at a time for tournaments. And you have to find somebody to watch your dog. Even if you're gone for 2 days, you have to find somebody to watch your dog or to let your dog out. With a cat, you have enough food, you have enough water, you have enough clean litter. You can leave a cat for a couple days while you're gone to come back. So I will say cat, although my heart is torn for both.
Fair. Okay. I appreciate the qualifier. That's good. All right. So night owl or morning person?
Oh, I'm clearly a night owl. Clearly a night owl. I feel like I get my best work done at nights. It would be common of me to stay up past midnight, whether I'm watching games, whether I'm doing work, or just, hanging out at home. But getting up early is not my thing.
Yeah.
Not my thing. I mean, today I got up early just because Tuesdays and Thursdays I go into the office here in CONCACAF down in Miami. So for me, from Boca Raton, where I live, to Miami, it's about, in the morning, it's an hour. But that's when I leave my house at 5 a.m. So if I leave my house at 5 a.m., I can be at Miami in an hour. If I leave after that, it could take an hour and a half. It could take 2 hours, depending on the traffic. So I'm forced to get up early, even though I do not want to get up early.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Okay, so referee-specific questions. Referee weather. If you're going to officiate, would you prefer hot or would you prefer cold? I will not allow a third option for this one because I know we all would like it to be like 60s or 70s. So you have to choose hot or cold.
I was going to say fall in Michigan, where it's like 60 degrees, no humidity type of thing.
That is beautiful.
But, man, it's a tough one because down here, I feel like even before there were water breaks instituted in youth games, high school games, now college games, like I felt like it was just hot from August to middle of October down here in South Florida. And some of those games were miserable. Right? But then I look back at my time in Michigan and I still remember a game. I'll never forget it. High school game at Marshall High School. It had to be in the teens. And of course, I forget my long sleeve jersey. I forget my gloves. The center referee let me borrow an extra stocking cap he had.
Nice.
But I remember being so cold that and now I'm sounding like I'm old. This was back before we had the openers for the car.
Yeah.
So like electronic key. So you had to actually put the key in and turn it. Probably like 3/4 of your podcast probably doesn't even know what those keys look like.
Right.
So like I put the key in and I couldn't turn it because my hands were so cold. So I had to use my teeth and turn the key just to get in my car. So because I remember that one specific game, I'm going to say I prefer to referee in hot weather.
Okay. Fair enough. Which, by the way, I'm just going to pitch this. I know we've been doing hydration breaks, but I think snack breaks could be really advantageous for us in games. And I've been pushing that. I know athletic trainers around here, they're like, we're at the wet bulb reading. I said, but I'm also hungry. So if we could build something in, do you have a small Reese's peanut butter cup or I don't know, just, you don't have to
it's
answer
a safety.
now.
No, it's a health and safety risk, right? So you need it.
I feel at risk. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. Okay. So reffing cleats or flats?
Oh, that's another tough one. I'd say if it's for one game, okay, and it's to showcase your talent, it must be cleats. Must. No doubt about it. If it's a tournament where you're refereeing 10 games in a day, it has to be flats. Otherwise, you're going to kill yourself. So, because those days for me are long gone, I would say cleats. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you a third option.
I'm ready.
and this is a plug. I'm going to say Umpiro referee shoes.
I have them. And they're great. We will plug that again. We'll put it up on the screen. We'll put a link in the bio. We'll do that. Yes, those are wonderful.
I think, get Leland on the show, the Leland Grant, the owner of the shoe, and let him talk more about the positives and about the shoe. I personally have not tried the shoe, but I understand from all those that have, which is very popular, that it is a fantastic shoe. Fantastic shoe.
It's good stuff. All right, communication devices or no communication devices?
Oh man, I'm old school like that now. So I would say no communication devices, because you have to learn how to ride the bike before you can put the training wheels back on. So I'm a little opposite. So even though the communication device, the kits will help you it'll provide you more accurate decisions and communication with your team. For me, because maybe just because I grew up refereeing without communication kits, that, I think you need to learn how to, you need to be solely responsible for everything on the field, except offside, obviously.
Right.
But it teaches you skills, your skill set. Like if you have this aid to help you, then you're going to rely on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, no communication kits, none.
All right. Okay.
No beeper flags, nothing, because I don't want that surprise beep.
Right. Or if you're working with an idiot friend that's just over there just going to town on it. So
yeah, I think I worked a game. Man, I think he's from your area. He used to beat me in a game every now and then. When I was at the Big 12 tournament, he'd beat me. I'm like, who's beeping me? I'm like, I'm looking at my AR, and he's like, I look back, there's Kyle Atkins beeping me. So go figure.
I for what it's worth, I'm not sure he's going to make it in officiating. I don't think there's much of a career there. All right, referee or assistant referee?
Referee.
Okay.
For me, it was, although I tell people I can run a mean line. I may not look like it, but I can run a mean line. But for me, my personality, my control freakness, like I have to be the referee.
Fair. All right, and then futsal, referee 1 or referee 2?
Oh, referee 2.
Okay, and why?
Tell you, this is kind of now my opposite. I was more referee 2 in my career than referee 1, but I do like referee 1 being in front of the benches because I feel there's more action. However, when you have to go, if you give the advantage and you have an accumulated foul, it becomes a little tricky when you have to now turn around, face the timekeeper, scorekeeper, do the signal, and then point to the bench that had the accumulated fouls against. Because when you turn around, now your position is opposite than how you saw it. So you really have to think about it. And I screwed that up once. Screwed it up.
Okay.
At a tournament, at a youth Olympic Games in Argentina. Give the signal. I was like, oh, I'm great. I'm like, okay. Now I'm thinking in my head, okay, now I'm going to, okay, it's this direction. So then I turn around, do the signal, pointed to the wrong team. And then I said, oh, no, other way. So now the scorekeeper thought there was 2 fouls. So now I had, hold on, this one, it's not a foul. This one is a foul. So now I always remember that you always point in the direction in which the team was attacking.
Yeah.
And that will always give you the foul. So
that's
how I did it from now on. But I prefer referee 2 because
referee 2. You don't have to think in those situations. It's just
that's it.
Just let it rip. That's beautiful. Well, I've taken entirely too much of your time, but I do want to give you the final word. I want you to be able to say whatever it is that's going to be able to help you sleep tonight to the Check Complete podcast.
Gordy, first off, thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to join you and your followers to share a little bit about my journey as an official futsal collegiate, and now my career as manager of refereeing at CONCACAF. My hope is that there are others out there that are watching this that I hope to maybe inspire in some small way to continue to reach to the top. And maybe your top isn't a FIFA referee. Maybe your top is a high school final. Maybe it's to go to a collegiate college cup. Maybe it's just to service the game in your local area to the best of your ability. The fact is that you have to have passion in what you do. And the day that it becomes a burden is the day you need to step away.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that there are more days of positivity than opposed to feeling the negative and feeling the grind of it. And just remember too, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
So there's going to be those moments of difficulty that you have to, just persevere through to continue. And at the same time is, don't do it alone. Do not do it alone. Have a support system, have a group, whether that's a mentor, whether that is your assigner, whether that is your peers. I was very lucky too in my career that I was able to, grab my brother who was 5 years younger than me and tag him along to become a referee. So he was a referee, and then we were able to share a lot of these experiences together where he was able to achieve, in his career to become a national assistant referee. So, along the way, some of my most memorable games were with my brother and the local games with my brother. So, I encourage those who have siblings to get them involved, or those of you that are parents to get your children involved, because there's no more special moment than officiating with your family members.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Lance, this has been wonderful. I so appreciate you and all that you've done and continue to do in your various roles. But I also appreciate you modeling what it looks like to be a person of professionalism, integrity, and kindness as you go about your work. As I know that sometimes with referees, it becomes you have to sometimes put on a little bit more of a chest puffed out type personality on the field just by nature of our job. But I know sometimes that can turn into a little bit, of arrogance and ego off the field too. And I think as I've had conversations with so many different referees as we've done this podcast, and you exemplify this 100%, is that so many of the people that have made it to the top are just genuinely good people who care about others, that build the bridges instead of burn them. And so thank you for modeling that for so many people. And then, of course, thank you for your time today. We, on behalf of the whole podcast and all of us, we so appreciate your insights. We've got several Lance-isms now that we can put, and they're already being put on T-shirts and coffee mugs and bumper stickers. So you can get yours. We'll give you a discounted price. But Lance, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Gordy. Take care, and we'll have to get the Mark and Lance show again down the road.
Oh, we definitely will. We definitely will.
This has been Season 2, Episode 11 of the Check Complete podcast. We've had some great conversations. Steph, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was
I've been
great.
looking forward to this.
Well, I have too. This is exciting. And we are excited to see as you continue to grow and do more games and referee and pursue med school and everything in the rest of life.
Thanks.
We hope for the best. A big shout out to Lance VanHaitsma for his time once again. Just a phenomenal dude. I could rant and rave about it, but appreciate your time, Lance, and love to hear all of your insights. Make sure, if you have not already, please like the video, follow our channel, so subscribe, I believe is the terminology, right, on the YouTubes. Yep. So like and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure that you're engaging with us on social media, so follow us Instagram, Twitter, @check_complete, Check Complete Podcast on Facebook. you can reach out to us, info@checkcompletepodcast.com. That would be email. Or you can slide into the DMs, the private messages, whatever the different platforms call it, and reach out to us that way. If there's segments you'd like to hear us talk about or situations you'd like to share, I mean, all sorts of stuff. We are open for discussion. We want to serve the referee community as best we can. So we would love to hear from those of you that are out in the trenches doing the job, or even if you're a different stakeholder in the game of soccer, so a coach, a player, a parent, we are open to that discussion and would love to hear more from you all. So like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. That's the end of my sales pitch. I'm not a salesman. But thank you, Steph, once again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you, everyone, for engaging with the podcast. We will see you next time for episode number 12 of season 2. Take care.